Adam stood in the doorway, grinning with that smug smile that had always made my blood boil. He leaned casually against the frame, his arms crossed over his broad chest. I knew what he was thinking. He was sure I'd beg, sure I'd fall apart. After all, that was his plan, leave me heartbroken and shatter any sense of self-worth I had left. But what he didn't realize, as he walked away with her hand in hand, was that I wasn't the same person he left behind. "You'll never get over me," he smirked before turning his back and walking out, the sound of his footsteps growing fainter as he left me standing there in the hallway of our apartment. I felt a rush of emotions flood through me. Anger, hurt, humiliation. But none of them left my body. I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I didn't plead with him to stay. Instead, I smiled and nodded, silently agreeing with him, just so I could play the long game. As his figure disappeared from my view, I closed the door behind me, exhaling a shaky breath. It had been 3 years. 3 years of love, of trust, of thinking we had something real, and now it was over, but not in the way he thought. No, he didn't leave me broken. He didn't leave me ruined. He had only made a mistake by thinking I was weak. I wasn't broken, I was waiting. The first step was to get close to Emma. I had already seen her once, in passing, his new girlfriend. She was younger, full of life, and oh so trusting. The kind of woman Adam could easily charm with his charisma, and the kind of woman who would never suspect that beneath the layers of affection he gave her there was something far darker. The digital world was where I began my plan. I didn't have to rush into her life, not yet. The key was subtlety, patience. I would be her friend, I would listen to her, console her, offer her advice, and all the while I would wait. I knew everything I needed to know about Adam, but Emma had no idea who I really was. To her I was just another woman who understood the complexities of relationships, another voice in her head telling her everything would be okay. It started innocently enough. I sent Emma a message one night after seeing her post something about how she felt like Adam had been a bit distant. I posed as the supportive stranger, offering words of comfort and encouragement. "It's normal to feel that way," I wrote. "People go through phases, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means he's struggling in his own way." She responded almost immediately, and from there a friendship blossomed. Over the next few weeks we exchanged messages. I gave her advice, offering gentle reminders that no relationship was perfect. I became the sounding board she never knew she needed. Meanwhile, I watched Adam from afar, observing how he'd slip into his old patterns. Late-night texts, flirtations with other women, the same manipulative games he played with me. Nothing had changed. He was still the same, only now he had a new target. I wasn't blind to Emma's naivete. I saw how she adored him, how she believed every sweet word he whispered to her. But I also saw the cracks, the things she would mention in passing. Little red flags that she didn't know how to interpret. That was where I came in. Soon I had all the ammunition I needed. I started to subtly drop hints, carefully planting seeds of doubt. I knew Emma would never trust me completely if I came on too strong, so I made sure everything I said was innocent enough to slip under her radar. I'd mention casually how Adam had a history of being emotionally distant, how he had lied to me about small things before, little things. Like how he always forgot to respond to messages or how he kept talking about his exes like they were still on his mind. But I was careful. I never told her outright that Adam was a master manipulator. No, I let her come to that conclusion on her own. I played my role perfectly, a patient observer in her life, waiting for the cracks to widen just enough. It was a slow burn, but I knew it was only a matter of time before Emma would start to question things. Adam's lies would soon start to catch up with him, and when they did, I'd be there to show her the truth. But for now, I smiled to myself, knowing the first part of my plan was already set into motion. Adam thought he had moved on, that I was the one left in ruins. He was wrong. So wrong. The days that followed were a blur of careful interactions and deliberate conversations. I could feel the tension between Emma and me growing with every message exchanged, but it was the kind of tension that worked in my favor. I didn't rush things, didn't push too hard. I let her come to me, let her trust me, and before long I was the one she leaned on. I kept up the facade of being her ever-patient friend, the one who listened to her frustrations, offered gentle advice, and reassured her that everything would work out with Adam. But behind my calm demeanor, my mind was constantly calculating. I'd been through it all before, the lies, the manipulation, the emotional games. I knew exactly how Adam worked. And I knew it would take time for Emma to see the truth. The key was in the subtleties, the things Adam never thought anyone would notice. One evening, Emma sent me a message that felt like a crack in her armor. It was a simple text, but it spoke volumes. "I don't know, Sophia. He's been acting strange lately, like he's hiding something from me." It was the perfect opening. I didn't pounce on it immediately. Instead, I played it cool, offering her a gentle nudge toward the truth. "You know, sometimes when people have a lot on their mind, they withdraw, but if it's something more you deserve to know, have you asked him about it?" She didn't respond right away. I could feel her hesitation. She was afraid of confronting him, afraid that asking would expose her vulnerability. That was the problem with Emma. She trusted too easily, believed too fully. She saw the best in people, even when they showed her the worst. And Adam knew how to take full advantage of that. As the weeks passed, I continued to listen to Emma, quietly offering my thoughts when she reached out. She started confiding more, telling me about Adam's late nights at work, his phone always face down, the way he would snap at her for the smallest things. She didn't see it yet, but the walls were already starting to crumble. Slowly but surely, Adam was revealing his true nature, and I was the one showing her the cracks in the illusion he'd built. One night, after a particularly heated argument between Emma and Adam, she reached out to me again. This time her voice was laced with a sense of betrayal that I could almost taste through the screen. "Sophia, I don't know what to think. I caught him texting someone else. I confronted him, but he swore it was nothing. He made me feel crazy for even questioning him." I felt a rush of satisfaction, but I kept it buried deep inside. "It's natural to feel confused when someone you trust acts this way," I wrote, offering sympathy but also planting a seed of doubt. "If he's really being honest, you deserve to know. I know it might hurt, but you have to trust yourself, not just what he's telling you." I didn't tell her the full truth, of course. That would have been too easy. Instead, I continued to let her draw her own conclusions, each one leading her closer to the realization that Adam wasn't the man she thought he was. The screenshots I had gathered over time, messages from his other exes, photos of his secret meetings with other women, became my most powerful weapon. I didn't need to share everything at once. A few carefully timed reveals would be enough to unravel him completely. Over the next few days, Emma sent me a flurry of texts. She'd found more clues, more inconsistencies in Adam's story, and each time I was there, acting as the calm voice of reason. But my advice became more pointed with each message. "You deserve honesty, Emma. Don't let him make you feel like you're overreacting. A good relationship should make you feel secure, not like you're walking on eggshells." I knew she was struggling, but the cracks were widening, and I had to make sure she wouldn't back out now. I had to push her to confront Adam with everything she had, everything I had helped her see. But I was patient. I wasn't going to rush her. I wanted to savor the moment when everything would finally fall into place. Emma was starting to question her own judgment, and that was the key. Adam's grip on her had been strong, but it was starting to slip, and I knew the next step in my plan was drawing near. It wasn't about rushing the confrontation. It was about allowing Emma to come to the truth on her own. She needed to reach the point where she could no longer ignore the signs, where the weight of Adam's lies became too much for her to bear, and then, when the time was right, I would deliver the final blow. But until then, I was content to watch as she slowly, piece by piece, uncovered his true nature. Adam thought he had won. He thought I was the one who was broken, but in reality, I was just waiting for the perfect moment to reveal the truth, and when it came, it would be everything he deserved. The days stretched on, each one blending seamlessly into the next. Emma's trust in me continued to grow, as did her doubts about Adam. I had become her confidant, the one she turned to when things didn't feel right with him. She'd pour her heart out to me, and I would listen, offering just enough insight to make her question what had once seemed unquestionable. Emma started to share more intimate details of her relationship with Adam, things she might never have said to anyone else. She told me how Adam would often go out for work dinners that lasted late into the night, how his phone was always on silent, and how he would get defensive if she ever asked about his ex-girlfriends. "I don't want to pry," she confessed one evening, "but something feels off. I just can't shake the feeling that he's hiding something." It was the perfect moment to plant the next seed. You deserve someone who's fully open with you, Emma. Secrets have a way of eating away at trust. If he's hiding things now, imagine what it could do to you in the long run. I didn't say it outright, but the implication was clear. Adam wasn't the man he pretended to be. His charm was a mask, and Emma was slowly starting to see that. I continued to play my part, calm, reassuring, and patient. I made sure to never push her too hard, never force her to see the truth before she was ready. That would only push her away. Instead, I let her come to it in her own time, all the while feeding her just enough information to make her doubts grow. One day she messaged me with something that made my heart race. "Sophia, I found something today. I was going through Adam's old messages and I saw something strange. He was texting one of his exes, and it wasn't just friendly. They were talking about meeting up, about how much they missed each other. I didn't say anything to him, but I don't know what to think." I couldn't help but smile at how perfectly everything was falling into place. I responded carefully, pretending to be surprised, feigning innocence. "I thought you knew about all of that. Adam has a habit of keeping things from people. You can't be the only one he's been seeing." There it was. I had said just enough for her to feel the weight of what she had discovered, but not enough to directly accuse him. Emma had already seen the cracks in Adam's behavior, but now the picture was starting to form. She was becoming more attuned to his lies, his evasions, and his manipulations. Over the next few weeks, Emma's demeanor began to shift. She was more distant with Adam, less willing to ignore the warning signs. Every time they had a disagreement, she would reach out to me, seeking clarity, and every time, I was there, offering just the right words to fuel her doubts without overwhelming her. It was an art, really, helping her to peel back the layers of his deception, but letting her feel like she was the one in control of the discovery. Then came the message that made my stomach turn with excitement. Emma had found something else, something that could no longer be dismissed as a simple misunderstanding. "Sophia, I don't know if I can ignore this anymore," she wrote, her words trembling with uncertainty. "I found some pictures of Adam with another woman. They were so close, she was touching his arm. I can't believe he would do this to me." It was the final piece of the puzzle. Now I knew it was time. I didn't have to say much. I simply replied, "You deserve better, Emma. You deserve someone who isn't playing you like this. You don't need to keep pretending everything is okay." Her response was almost immediate. "I'm going to confront him. I can't keep pretending. He's not the person I thought he was." At that moment I knew the tide had turned. Adam's empire of lies was on the verge of collapse, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. I had carefully set the stage for this moment, and now all I had to do was watch, as it all came crashing down around him. I felt no satisfaction in the impending confrontation, no sense of vengeance beyond the cold satisfaction of knowing that my plan was succeeding. Adam thought he had left me broken, but he had underestimated me. Now, it was Emma's turn to see the truth, and nothing would stop it. The day Emma decided to confront Adam, I could feel the air shift between us. She was no longer the same trusting, hopeful woman I had once known. Something in her had hardened, a quiet resolve that wasn't there before. I knew what was coming. I had prepared her for it, step by careful step. This was the moment everything would change. "I'm going to do it today," she told me, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. "I can't let him keep lying to me. I have to know the truth once and for all." I had done my part. I had given her all the tools, all the evidence she needed. But now it was up to her to take the final step. There was a part of me that felt no sympathy for Adam, not anymore. He had treated me like I was disposable, and now his lies were coming back to bite him. He had no idea what was coming. "I'm proud of you, Emma," I said softly. "You're doing the right thing. No one deserves to feel this way, to live in the dark about who they're really with. You deserve honesty, and you deserve someone who isn't hiding things from you." I could hear the tears in her voice, but she was resolute. I thought I knew him, I thought he was different, but now I feel like I'm losing myself just trying to hold on to him. "Sometimes, letting go is the hardest part, but it's the only way to find peace," I replied, my words smooth and steady, just as I had practiced them. She thanked me before hanging up, her words almost too quiet to hear. But I knew the decision had already been made in her heart. She was ready to face the truth, ready to confront Adam. When she texted me a few hours later, my heart skipped a beat. I did it. I confronted him, and he didn't even try to deny it. Emma had caught him red-handed. When she confronted him with the evidence I had helped her gather, the texts, the pictures, the lies, Adam had crumbled. There was no grand defense, no excuses, no manipulation. He simply sat there, staring at her, unable to spin his web of lies any longer. He tried to deflect, of course, tried to make her feel guilty for doubting him, but Emma wasn't having it. "What did he say?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "You said it was nothing," she replied, her voice shaky. "That I was overreacting, that it didn't mean anything. But it was so obvious, Sophia. He didn't even look sorry, he just looked annoyed." "Of course he did," I murmured, feeling a cold satisfaction. "Because you weren't supposed to catch him. He thought he could keep lying without consequence. But you were stronger than he realized." "Yeah?" she said, her voice growing steadier. I walked away. I told him I couldn't be with someone who treats me like this, and I left. I could feel the weight of her words through the screen. She had taken back control of her life, and in doing so, she had shattered the illusion Adam had so carefully built. There was no coming back from this for him. Not after everything Emma had discovered. "Good for you," I said, my voice soft but firm. "You deserve better than him." That night I sat in silence, reflecting on everything that had led up to this moment. I had orchestrated it all, watching from the shadows as Adam's world slowly unraveled. But now, it wasn't just about him. It was about Emma, about her finding the strength to walk away from a man who had manipulated and lied to her for so long. She had finally seen the truth. And Adam? He was left in the wreckage of his own making. He had no idea that his ex, his discarded, broken ex, was the one who had torn his world apart. The man who thought he could never be touched, never be made to feel the consequences of his actions, was now left alone, confused, and unable to understand what had gone wrong. The next day I received the first of many texts from Adam. "What the hell did you do?" it read. I stared at the message for a long moment, my finger hovering over the screen. A part of me wanted to respond, to revel in the confusion he was now drowning in, but then I thought better of it. Instead, I simply read the message once more, a smile tugging at my lips. Without replying, I deleted the text. And as I put my phone down, I stood up and walked away, a quiet sense of satisfaction settling in my chest. I had never been broken, never been the victim. I had simply been waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment to show Adam the truth, to let him feel the weight of everything he had done. And now he understood. It had been a few days since Emma had walked away from Adam. The silence between us was thick, but the tension was gone. Emma had made her choice, and in that moment of clarity, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had watched as Adam's carefully constructed world fell apart, and now all I had to do was wait for him to realize the full extent of his downfall. I didn't have to wait long. The first text came late at night, just as I was finishing up a book I'd been reading. "What the hell did you do?" Adam's words were sharp, filled with anger and confusion. It was a question that had been coming for days, but he had been too blind to see it until now. Too wrapped up in his own arrogance to understand how thoroughly I had orchestrated his destruction. I sat back in my chair and stared at the screen for a while. It was so tempting to reply, to engage in the kind of petty back and forth he was undoubtedly hoping for, but I knew better. The power wasn't in my response, it was in my silence. It always had been. With deliberate slowness I read the message again. Each word, each angry punctuation mark was like a victory flag fluttering in the wind. Adam was lost. He had no idea how the pieces of his life had shifted. No idea how methodically I had worked my way into his new relationship, into Emma's heart, just to tear him down. He still couldn't fathom that the woman he thought he had left in ruins was the one who had been orchestrating this entire game all along. I smiled to myself, feeling the satisfaction creep up slowly from my gut. But then, just as quickly, I deleted the message. There was no need to engage. Adam didn't deserve a response from me. He had made his bed, and now he was lying in it, alone. It wasn't just about the revenge anymore, though. I had already gotten everything I wanted. Adam's defeat wasn't about making him suffer. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't the fragile, broken person he thought I was. It was about showing him that I could walk away from the wreckage of our relationship with my dignity intact, while his was the one in ruins. He had underestimated me, and now that miscalculation had cost him everything. The phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Emma. "Thank you, Sophia. I don't know what I would have done without you. I'm free now, really free." There was something in her words that I hadn't expected. Gratitude. I had spent so much time focusing on the slow unraveling of Adam's life that I had forgotten how deeply Emma had been affected by him. She was finally seeing the truth about who he was, and I was the one who had helped her get there. In a strange way, I had saved her, and for the first time I felt that perhaps my role in all of this wasn't just about revenge. It was about giving her the chance to walk away from a toxic relationship, to find her own path forward without the chains of Adam's manipulation. I responded briefly, keeping it simple. You did all the hard work, you were strong when it mattered. I'm proud of you. It wasn't a lie. Emma had made the hardest decision of all, and she had done it on her own. I had merely shown her the way. The rest of the night passed in a strange, peaceful silence. I had expected some sort of emotional release, a wave of triumph, or a moment of gloating, but all I felt was calm. I had done what I set out to do, and it had been executed with precision. There was no need for grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. The quiet satisfaction of knowing Adam had lost everything was more than enough. As the days went on, I went about my life as usual. There was no need to check in on Adam or keep tabs on Emma. I had already won. The aftermath of everything, his confusion, his failure, his loneliness, was a part of the price he paid for underestimating me. I would never give him the satisfaction of knowing how much joy his downfall brought me. That was the true victory. In the end, I had proved to Adam that I wasn't broken. I wasn't devastated or destroyed by his departure. Instead, I was the one who walked away, not just intact but stronger and wiser than I had ever been before. And now I could walk away from this chapter with my head held high, knowing that the true power had always been in my hands. Adam thought he had left me behind, but I had been the one who left him in the dust, a reminder that not everyone can be manipulated, not everyone can be controlled. Some people are too smart, too patient, and too capable of delivering justice on their own terms.